Welcome back, Nerd Nation, to our discussion of Quentin Tarantino's early works. Tonight's episode finds the boys discussing 1994's classic Pulp Fiction. Reservoir Dogs does serve as a really good, appetizer for what would become probably his still most famous movie. It's got to be still.
You think Pulp Fiction is his most famous movie?
It has to be.
Like with the general movie audience?
I think more people are aware of Quentin Tarantino's association with Pulp Fiction than any of his movies.
I would say that's true. I would say if we're talking just strictly objective best film masterpiece, it would be for me between Pulp Fiction and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. But in terms of absolutely permeating the pop culture, it's A New Hope. It's basically that was like the first Star Wars movie in terms of its total pop culture saturation. Mm-hmm. And even people who aren't Tarantino fans know that movie and have heard quotes from that movie.
So you saying Reservoir Dogs is like his TH-37X or his American Graffiti before he made Star Wars kind of thing?
Yes, I'm clearly saying that. Yeah.
All right, okay. I got you. No, but you're right. I agree with you completely. I think Pulp Fiction was where we are now talking about this man as a filmmaker because of that movie.
Oh, yeah. And that's the one I think that, where all the influence really took hold. That's where everybody wanted to start making Tarantino-esque films.
Right. Think about the people, the enduring actors who became a part. Like Eli Roth is back, right? Mm-hmm. He plays a small role in that as the restaurant robbing guy. Yep. And then you got Samuel L. Jackson, whose relationship with Tarantino is just legendary now. Oh, yeah. Uma Thurman, of course, really same thing.
Those two guys.
Right. They permeate so much of his catalog as it is. And then you've got the resurrection of Travolta's career. You've got, Bruce Willis, all of these.
Christopher Walken in an amazing cameo.
Oh my God.
I can't wait to talk about that.
One of the greatest cameos in cinema.
Are we going to deal with this chronologically then? Because we can start in the beginning then with that restaurant robbery.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you motherfuckers gonna not move.
Yeah. If any of you move, I'll execute every last motherfucking one of you.
She goes for the sweet voice,
love you, honey bunny.
Yeah. And that's her credit in the credits, Honey Bunny.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no
She's
shit.
Honey Bunny.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I never knew that. That's great.
That's just one of those great moments in the film. And it's funny. I should go back and look at it again to see, can you see the hitmen sitting there in the background when they're doing that? Because I don't remember looking and seeing Travolta and Jackson. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if they're there. You just don't notice them because they're so far in the background.
Right.
That's a good question.
It is a good question. They have the reverse thing later in the movie where Eli Roth's character calls for more coffee or something like that.
Yeah.
While Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson are having a conversation. But whether or not that's in the first scene, I don't remember ever noticing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot until I saw Pulp Fiction again for the cast how modern the storytelling keeps feeling because it's so fragmented. You get the episodic nature of everything.
The weaving of the stories together.
Yeah. That felt really cool, which I had totally forgotten. Just really, because all I remember is starting with Samuel L. Jackson and the trunk and talking about the Royales with cheese and then rolling up to that dude's breakfast. That's pretty much where my memory starts, which, it happens over time because I probably saw this film. Oh, if it was 94, I would have been 9, so I definitely didn't see it in theaters. But I, again, had HBO, so I probably saw it by 10 or something like that.
It was a high school thing for me. When I had a bunch of film friends that were really into this stuff, and they're like, "We gotta watch Pulp Fiction." I'm like, "Let's do it," and then just being like, "Whoa!"
Right.
And I think honestly, the best parts of it are Jackson and Travolta together. Mm-hmm. When they're doing their thing, you can feel that chemistry between those characters.
Yeah.
What are the characters' names again?
Jules is Samuel Jackson.
Yes, and
Travolta is. I should know this because I don't know if you guys actually know this, but he's supposed to be Michael Madsen's character's brother.
Really?
Vega?
Yes.
Vincent Vega, that's
Vincent,
it.
Yep. And then if you watch
Jules
Reservoir
and Vincent.
Dogs, it's I forget his first name, but he's also a Vega.
I had
They're
no
supposed
idea.
to be brothers, and there was talk for a long time. Quentin Tarantino was considering doing a Vega Brothers movie, where you know how he references being in Amsterdam. So the Vega Brothers were going to have a club in Amsterdam. I guess is what I've read. The premise of that movie would have been.
Well, that does serve
got made.
that serves the theory that all of his
fine.
movies exist in the same universe.
Michael Madsen, Mr. Blonde, is Vic Vega.
There you go.
Interesting.
Toothpick.
Well, he always
Vega.
dresses them in the same outfit too. They always wear the pencils, tie, black suits. But it's that moment between Jules and Vincent in the car, and they're talking about the metric system and the cheeseburgers and the shakes and all this stuff, or not the shakes at that point, but the just his travels and how different it is and everything. It just sets them up as characters.
Right.
And then you get that juxtaposition when he goes to this. They go into this apartment building and thinking, okay, they're going to get down to it. Oh no, you're like, no, it's too early. Let's
too early.
Right.
And they walk and they talk some more, and it's like, man, it's just like it just keeps building into this moment. And then you get that he goes in, and you're thinking he's gonna light these fuckers up, but no. Jackson continues to just draw it out with that epic monologue he delivers, which is just Mike. You gotta.
By that point, they're talking about foot massages because that's what Tony Rocky Horror is alleged to have done to. Who's the boss's name?
Marcellus Wiley.
Wallace's wife.
Wife, yeah. And they have, and it's another one of those things like the tipping of the waitresses, where as you're listening, you're like, well, there's actually some really good points being made.
Yeah.
Like
you ever give a foot massage to a man?
Yeah, he goes, I'm a little tired right now. I could kind of go for one. He's like, I'm starting to get a little pissed here. And then when he got back, he goes, that's what makes foot massages so cool. It's like we act like they don't mean something, but we know they do. He goes, she knows it. Marcellus Wallace knew it, and Tony Rocky Horror fucking should have known better,
Right.
And it's like, oh, these are all good points. And then the transition, like you're talking about, is great because up till that point, Vincent Vega has sort of seemed like the quirkier one, and Samuel L. Jackson's just sort of listening to him talk.
He's like the straight man.
And then they totally reverse roles. They go in, and Travolta goes silent.
Yep.
He starts
Looking through the
fishing
cabinets.
around in the kitchen. And Samuel L. Jackson's all smiles and charm, and so caught you guys in the middle of breakfast. Sorry about that. What you having?
Oh, burgers for breakfast.
I could watch that scene and have just even when I'm not watching the movie. Like if I'm up at night, I've had a few drinks, and I'm going through my favorite movie scenes on YouTube. I have watched that scene so many times.
Breakfast of Champions. Oh, and Vega opens up the suitcase too, and it's just the MacGuffin of the gold light, and it's just like you have no idea what the fuck it is, but it's something meaningful.
Yeah,
could be the Lost Ark in there.
Well, we happy. And then it all shifts again on a dime. Like he's like, you flock of seagulls, and he starts to ask him a question, and the one dude in the corner starts to answer it, and Samuel L. Jackson turns around. I don't remember asking you a goddamn
thing.
And everything changes from there. Like then at that point, he's in straight up like Hitman mode.
Yes, it's perfect, and just the part where the guy starts stammering, he's like, "Say what again, motherfucker? I dare you!" It's like, oh my god, it's so good.
No country I ever heard of. They speak English and what?
And he's like, and the intimidation factor of him eating his burger and drinking his drink, and the guy's like, just like he can't even meet him in the face. You can tell immediately these guys know they're done. It's so good.
What you got in there? Sprite. Yeah. Mind if I have a sip? Yeah. And then you just get like, we cut to what's his name, Travolta in the background, I think, for a little bit. Then you turn back and you just hear.
Yeah. The whole fucking
Finish this whole fucking Sprite.
He goes, that hit the spot.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great callback. We'll get that to Jackie Brown, but that's a line that comes up again.
Yeah.
But I love that part where the guy comes out, guns blazing, and he shoots at him. You don't know if you guys notice this, but the bullet holes are already in the wall.
Oh, no.
So there's a little bit of a flub there. Like, the bullet holes are behind him. I'm like, why are there fucking holes in the wall? And then he comes out and he's like, "Bam, bam, 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 bam," and they're just standing there, which of course is Jules' conversion to Christianity or whatever.
Yeah.
But the holes were already in the wall. I'm like, oh, that's a fucking miss.
I never noticed that before.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It just stood out. I couldn't not see it after I noticed it. I'm like, why are there holes there?
There's so much cool shit that happens there. There's the whole, like, oh, you were finished. Well, allow me to retort. And then his retort is, what does Marcellus Wallace look like? And the dude says, what? Again.
Yes.
And then the whole Bible verse thing.
Yeah.
And that is
Does he look like a bitch?
Right. And then later in the movie, he says the Bible verse again. And then at this point, he's changed. So he's like, I used to just think that was such a cold-blooded thing to say to a brother before you popped a cap in his ass. And it's like, as a watcher, you're like, oh, yeah, because that's what I thought in the first scene. I don't fucking know what it means, but it just sounded cool.
Yeah.
Like, I am the Lord thy God.
And Jackson's delivery. That's how he got the part. Like, I don't know if you know the story, but I read about it. Like, he wanted it so bad that he went to Tarantino's apartment and like said, he begged him to let him do that line. And he fucking nailed it so hard that he couldn't say no at that point because he wanted someone else to play
really?
Jules. Yeah, he didn't want Samuel L. Jackson. He was like the second choice. And it was like, that's it. You got it. And I mean, the rest is history, obviously.
That's an interesting thing about Samuel L. Jackson is that he was actually like an actor in Hollywood in a small way for quite a long time. And he shows up in all these random places. If you guys know Goodfellas, like there's a part where they have to shoot the driver of the car, and they go to pick him up, and they're like making coffee, like they're going to take him somewhere, and then they end up shooting him. And that's Samuel L. Jackson. Right. Like it's got this tiny little part in Goodfellas.
Yeah, he was just like a B actor, just bit parts, and then Tarantino just invented him as what we know of him.
He became one of the biggest movie stars,
he is the highest grossing movie star of all time.
Wow. Oh shit.
Well, Star Wars had a big part to do with it, but he has his films that he's been in have earned the most money out of any actor in any film they've
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another little small role he had. Hey, hold on to your butts.
Yeah.
And that was probably his biggest thing to date until he was in Pulp Fiction. Right? Because that was after, wasn't it?
So Pulp Fiction was 94.
Pretty sure. Jurassic Park might have been the same year.
Let's see.
Because 94 was a big year for movies. It's a big year for movies.
And just for conversation's sake, we talk about how Pulp Fiction permeates the culture. As soon as you get to Pulp, the only search result possible from Google is fiction.
It's not orange juice?
No.
Fuck
Pulp orange juice. Fuck pulpy orange juice. Fuck it in its pulpy ass.
He's taking my lines over there.
It's a great name, too, when you think about it.
93.
So Jurassic Park did predate. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great name for the movie. Now when you hear Pulp Fiction, you think of the movie. But what Pulp Fiction actually is just a generic term for like low grade, like cheesy gangster schlock.
Cheap crap you buy at the grocery store.
And that's what Tarantino has always been a master of, taking schlock and elevating it to art. And then that really started with, as we said, the anti-heist film with Reservoir Dogs, but just doubled and tripled down in Pulp Fiction. Right. Because none of those characters are redeeming in any way. There's no overarching plot, right? It just seems like a bunch of like schlock, again, I'll use that word. But somehow he's elevated it to this one of the all-time great movies.
It really did feel like, Detective Comics, Volume 6 of 1994.
Yeah.
And the hard-boiled mood felt right. The tone was right for everything. Even though, we're going to transition into Vincent Vega and Marcellus Wallace's wife, which is just out of fucking left field.
Everything in that movie just rotates around Marcellus Wallace's sphere of influence. That's all it is. All those different stories, they all come back to him. Like the boxer, I can't think of Bruce Willis's character's name, but
Gold Watch dude.
Yeah. It's like not Biff. What is it? It's like something like that.
It's like that
Bruce,
though.
Butch.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Him and his French girlfriend or whatever she is.
The very next scene after the one we've been discussing then is in the bar. And you don't see Marcellus Wallace's face at that point.
No.
You see the back
of his head. You don't know it's Ving Rhames, really.
Talking to Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And that this is one of the great needle drop moments of all time is Al Green's Let's Stay Together playing.
Yes.
And then over the top of that is Ving Rhames' voice going, that's pride fucking with you. Fuck pride.
Yeah.
It's it's just such a cool scene. And then at the end of that scene, Vincent Vega and Jules walk in wearing those clothes they got from Tarantino's house.
Yep.
But you don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are they dressed like that?
Is that how they dress when they're not at work? What is that?
That's a big difference from pencil ties to friggin' sports shorts.
Yeah. It was that's one of those best linchpin scenes in the whole thing where you start to see the different storylines diverging together, converging at that point. I love the Butch storyline. I think the whole thing about the boxer, he's paid to take a dive, and it's going to be this big thing, and he fucks him in the end, and he kills the guy in the ring. What the fuck?
Right.
And his whole like trying to get away and get away with it. It's a masterpiece. It's awesome.
The whole thing where he's in the cab with the cab driver, Esmeralda, I think is her name.
Yeah.
But like that whole scene, if you just sit back and look at it, it looks like a 1940s like Humphrey Bogart type scene, you know, where it's in the back. They're clearly not in a real car. Right? It's clearly a Hollywood set.
Yeah.
And that's by design.
I was gonna say, that's definitely a choice.
There's the flashing lights while they have the whole conversation and everything.
Yep.
You know, how does it feel to kill a man with your bare hands? He's like, I don't feel the least bit bad about it. You know, it's another cool dialogue scene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. There's that whole side note. And he gets away, right? Doesn't he get away at the end?
He does get away, yes, because of all the shit with the gimp and all that shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Marcellus Wallace basically says, we're square.
I forgot
after
if he
saves
comes
him.
back again because that whole scene was so fucked up.
Yeah, he stole the bike. He stole the motorcycle and he rode away with the girl on it.
Easily
Yeah.
the weirdest part of the movie.
Alice.
Yeah, Ving Rhames getting fucked in the ass.
Yeah.
Does he look like a bitch? Well, at one point in the story, he does.
Oh, dude, there you go.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Why are you trying to fuck him?
Yeah.
Well...
But I mean, I don't know. Are we there yet? Can we talk about that part of it?
We gotta go, but we have not talked about milkshakes, cocaine bumps.
Yes.
We have not talked about heroin.
Uma Thurman's part, sorry.
I've been to Amsterdam.
Right.
Okay. This better not be some weak shit. Which is not what he says, but that's what he means.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
we skipped all that.
So Vincent Vega's his date with Uma Thurman's girl.
Yeah, officially Vincent
Mrs.
Vega
Wallace.
and Marcellus Wallace's wife. She does not get a name in the credit or in the title cards as they switch stories.
But she's such an iconic part of the movie. Like you said, the dance scene.
Yeah.
Like
Which I totally thought in my mind was like 10 minutes long or something like that. They actually dance. It's a solid minute.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's all to win a stupid trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys remember that show that used to be on TV, Inside the Actors Studio? Did you ever watch it?
Yeah.
With James Lipton?
There's a great one where he's interviewing John Travolta, and then at the end they would let the students ask questions. So this girl is like, I love all your movies, and I memorized the dance from Pulp Fiction, and my question is, will you do that dance with me? And Travolta does. They get up and they reenact that dance scene.
Oh, that's
Pulp
epic.
Fiction. It's a really cool moment.
Well, I think Travolta, the person, knows that movie saved him.
Oh,
like without that movie, he would have been like obscure forever.
What had he done recently? Was it Saturday Night Fever?
Well, it was like that, and like
he did those like Look Who's Talking movies.
Oh, yeah, Jesus. Nobody wants to be.
He did a movie in the early '80s, I think it was, that everybody who's into movies loves, worships. I've never seen it, and I keep meaning to. It's a Brian De Palma movie called a Blowout.
Yep.
But his I mean, he basically had stagnated. His career was quite stagnant at that point, and he became, I would say, even bigger than he had been before post Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah, that was what Face Off was after that, and just I mean, you're right. He was everywhere. He was everywhere. Yeah. But that whole scene, because they set it up with what are you going to do with her? Mm-hmm. What are you gonna say, I'm just gonna take her out, we're gonna have dinner, and I'm gonna take her home. Like that's pretty much it.
And this is skipping ahead toward the end of the scene, but I love when Travolta's in the bathroom giving himself like a pep talk.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's like, you're gonna go out, you're gonna thank her for the drink and a nice night, and that's all you're gonna do. And then it cuts back to her, and then it cuts back to him, and he's like, again, he's like furrowed brow, like hand on chin, and then he points his finger at himself, and he's like, what we have here is a moral test of oneself.
Yes.
It's a moral test of one's, but what did he say? Like one's loyalty.
Loyalty, yeah. Because everything was trending on that to them fucking. Like you're thinking, oh yeah, she's definitely seducing him. Like that's what's happening here.
But I mean, if a foot massage is going to get you defenestrated,
what
the hell is? I've been waiting forever to use that word in a real conversation.
Nicely done, sir.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
So what would schlepping the boss's wife do? And I think in the bathroom, if I'm not mistaken, he starts with like, "Are you going to have a drink?" And then you're going to say, "Thank you for the drink," and then you go, and then you cut back, and he's like, "All right, you're going to say, sorry, I can't stay for the drink," or something like that. And he keeps trying to like talk himself into leaving right away.
He should do.
And I think the first one is like, you're going to have a drink, you're going to go home, you're going to jerk off.
Yeah, yes.
That's all you're going to do.
That's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do.
Meanwhile, she's fishing through his dope that he got from Chris, what's his name there? The dope guy. I can't think of that actor's name. He's
another
he's
bathrobe dope dealer.
So I don't know. I didn't hear this from Tarantino. This is maybe an apocryphal story. I don't know how true it is, but what I had heard a long time ago was, you have Marcellus Wallace, and he's clearly always presented in this like satanic imagery, right? Like in his bar, in the dark, you don't even see his face, right? And the red light, the red glow, and then you cut to the next scene, which is Travolta going to the drug dealer's house. And that guy has very clear, like, Jesus overtones. Like, he's wearing his
yeah.
robe.
Yeah.
He's got the beard and the long
hair,
hair.
yeah.
That's a good point, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, again, I don't know how true it is, but
Yeah.
stylistically it holds up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun scene where he, you know, again, everything builds on it. He scores this dope, and it becomes one of those, like, MacGuffin pretty much, but like, you know, the Chekhov's gun, like something's going to happen with this at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just, that part where they have to go get the adrenaline shot there, and like, and they're like him and Han over.
Where's the manual? What manual?
Yeah.
You're never gonna find it in there. You gotta clean that shit.
Yes, and this guy's like living with these two broads who are like, "What the fuck are you doing here with us?" And he like drives on his front yard and knocks over the statue or whatever, and just like it's unhinged and crazy. And just when they stab her, you're like, I felt it. I was like, oh, fuck, you know.
She sits up right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, and circling around all of this is just the great, like, random dialogue throughout the whole thing. Like, I mean, while he's waiting for him to bag up his drugs, you know, he's like, oh, man, you know what some dickless piece of shit did the other day? And he talks about getting his car.
Oh, yeah, keep my car.
And then they have this whole conversation about, like, you know, like, oh, that's the one thing you don't do to a man. You don't key his car. Straight to execution. It's another one of those conversations where, like, yes, yeah, fucking yeah, that's right. Punch him in the face, don't key his car.
The Tarantino conversation is like, it's a big part of it. Like when you're doing the auteur theory, that's one of the check marks.
Right.
Like, that's the thing.
Right.
That's like the Hitchcock Zoom. It's like the same thing. It's like every movie, there's going to be that conversation that just seems to be inane and about nothing.
Right.
But somehow it's related.
Well, in Pulp Fiction, it seems to happen every story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if you think about it. So Diner, they're just talking about the theory of robbing shit, which I guess is not really inane because they're about to rob the restaurant. But they don't know that at the start.
Yeah, exactly. It seems disconnected and completely irrelevant to the moment.
Prelude to Vincent Vega, that one's obvious. It's the
Right.
food, right? Vincent Vega and Marcellus Wallace's wife, it's the scoring the dope.
Right.
But then it's also, what do they talk about in the car? I mean, they talk about her role in some pilot film at the restaurant.
Yes, they have that conversation.
They have that
too,
conversation.
yeah.
Do they say anything in the car, though?
But so there's a cut scene where, so when they get to the restaurant and he's like, I don't want to go in here. Let's go get a steak. And she's like, come on, an Elvis man will love this restaurant. Mm-hmm. That actually follows up a cut scene that didn't make the final film where it's been years since I've watched this cutscene, but they have a conversation about how every man is either an Elvis man or they either say Beatles or Rolling Stones, I forget. And he lands on the side of being an Elvis man. So like that comment is connected to this cutscene. So I mean, there's great dialogue that gets cut from the film because there's so much good stuff.
Yeah, you gotta keep it crisp, to a point.
Well, yeah, right. You could easily, in a film that's got 7 stories, you could easily run way over on that.
But the TV show, I love Uma Thurman's like overacting in that part. She's like, and if our show would have got picked up, they would have worked in a gimmick where I would have told, you know, her dad
one joke.
Billy yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I think then that goes to the boxer, right? At that point, it goes to Butch.
Yes, after they revive her, save her
Mm-hmm.
life, and he drops her off, and she tells the stupid ketchup joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to go home and have a heart attack. Then they go to the boxing shit, yeah.
And that was, that transitions into the Marcellus Wallace gimp fuck.
Well, there is the prelude to Gold Watch, which is Christopher Walken.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Your daddy and I.
Movie monologue.
Your daddy and I were in a POW camp.
What I love is how it goes from being literally the first half of that is like Walken pouring on the dramatic acting chops. Like it's a serious story, you know, like, you know, he's his unborn son who he asked this stranger he'd never met to deliver to his unborn son who he'd never seen this watch, you know, and it's like this serious dramatic story. Yeah. And then at a certain point, it just cuts into all the racial language. And I carried this uncomfortable piece of metal up my ass. Your dad died of dysentery.
Yes.
Because it utterly falls apart.
And, you know, my very first thought was, dude died of dysentery, and your very next thing was to put it in your ass.
Yes.
How did you survive dysentery besides being Christopher Walken?
And it's this gold watch. It was like for his daddy's that he bought when he was overseas, and he passed it down. And it's like all this... Like, oh man, like you said, it's just
in the war,
dripping.
but his daddy's daddy died in the war. Yeah.
So anyway, your dad had this up his ass, and I had it up my ass, and I'm giving it to you.
7 years and now, young little man, I give it to you. It's fucking awesome. And then it cuts to him like waking up pre-fight.
Yep.
goes out, like you hear like Bruce Willis in the hallway. You can tell like he's not going to go along with it because you hear him in the hallway like grizzly bear noises and shit. So you know he's going out there to fucking murder his opponent.
And he kills the dude because the guy's expecting him to just fall down and he just fucking lays him out, and then the whole watch almost derails everything because at this point you're pulling for him. Like, I want him to get out of here. Right. I want him to, like, whatever happened in his life that went wrong, I want him to figure it out. And so what if he's fucking over a gangster? This guy's a piece of shit anyway.
Yeah, Marcellus Wallace will be fine.
But it's like, oh, you didn't bring the watch. I thought he was going to beat the shit out of her.
Right. I was worried, because he throws the TV in the motel room.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, oh, don't.
But she's like, she's so like innocent about like, I didn't know. And he just goes and he gets the watch, and there's this, like, again, the randomness of some of the Tarantino stuff, like fucking gimp in a basement cage that they let out, like so many questions surrounding that moment, but it doesn't matter because the whole point is that these guys are some kind of fucking like deviant pervert, like super criminals basically, and they have a gimp.
That shit is the most random part of the whole movie.
It is.
Before you even get there though, there's some real cool stuff with Bruce Willis. Like, I mean, first of all, that whole scene with her in the hotel room prior to the discovery of the watch missing is actually a really nice scene. Like, they seem to be legitimately in love. There's so much affection there.
Can we do the spoons?
You know, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Let's make spoons.
She's like, will you give me oral pleasure? But she wants to get blueberry pancakes so bad. It's like a real cute scene. Then he's got to go back and, like, you know, it's another one of those great moments where Tarantino just knows what to do with the camera, where he parks like 2 blocks over and he gets out of the car and the camera follows him cutting through the buildings and shit. You know, creates all that tension. And then the best part is once he gets the watch, the tension just evaporates. He decides to have some breakfast. He's making some Pop-Tarts.
Right? Oh, and he kills Vincent Vega.
And then Travolta dies because he was taking a shit.
Left his Uzi on the counter.
Every time he goes to the bathroom, something bad happens. He gets killed here. He went to the bathroom in the other one. Uma Thurman overdosed.
Yeah.
So, and in the diner, he goes to the bathroom, and that's when the place gets robbed. You know, every time he goes to the bathroom, something bad happens.
Yeah,
but there's all of that. But yeah, then they stumble fighting into I don't even know what that place is. What is it? Fucking
it looks like a pawn shop.
Yeah, like
well, they got into a car accident because Marcellus Wallace had seen him. Like it was that homage to the Hitchcock scene from Psycho. When she's in the car and the boss is walking across the street and makes eye contact with her, and that look on his, that he basically remade. You guys didn't know this?
No. I never put that together.
Yeah, so he's in the car and he's like thinking he's getting away with something, stealing the guy's money, and he comes walking across the street and looks at him, and instead of keep walking, he fucking gets in his car and they get in an accident, and that whole chase that comes from that.
Well, actually, now that you mention it, I love that part where Marcellus Wallace, like, they're all like, "Hey, we'll tell the police officer, we'll make a statement." Like,
they're on his side.
Blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden, Marcellus Wallace gets up and sees Bruce Willis, and he just unloads that huge shotgun, and I think he hits a pedestrian.
Right next to the car.
Then they go stumbling into that place, and it just gets really fucking weird at that point. But there's a great moment where Bruce Willis is about to escape. And then he has this crisis of conscience.
Yes.
He's like, I should go back and help him. But before he does, he takes his sweet ass time. You can hear Marcellus Wallace being raped in muffled tones in the background. And he's like picking, it's like first he picks up a bat. He kind of tests its weight and its balance.
A hammer too.
Then he sees the chainsaw, a hammer, chainsaw at one point. And then his eyes go big when he sees that like katana or something or whatever that is on the wall. And then that moment in the basement too, when he goes down there, is great. When like the guy's like wants to reach for his gun, and Bruce Willis is like, "Go ahead, pick it up." I
want you to pick it up.
Yeah, he punches the gimp, knocks him out. Yeah. That's the best part. The guy's trying to warn him too. He's got the zipper thing on, and he can't do anything about it. It's the best. Oh man! And I think then it cuts to the scene where Vincent and Jules have to clean the car up, right?
Back in the apartment. It picks up, and that we see the aftermath of them shooting the guys that were in the living room.
Right.
And that's the part you're talking about, where apparently the bullet holes were already there.
Yeah.
Watch for that.
The Bonnie situation is officially the name of that one.
It must have done multiple cuts or something of it, but that whole thing with they bring in the cleaning guy, and he's like basically like yelling at him, like, I do my job. Like, just the way he's like so matter of fact about it and just getting this done. It was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, and then Travolta blows his head off by mistake. So they got to go to Quentin Tarantino's house in the middle of the suburbs with a car with brain and skull all over it. And then interspersed again, it's just all the great dialogue. Right. You know, like I know the coffee's good. I don't need to fucking hear how good my coffee is. I buy the coffee because my wife buys shit. and I don't want to drink shit. But right now, I'm not concerned about the coffee in my cup. You know, it's like this digression to talk about the quality of coffee. There's a few minutes later, Harvey Keitel shows up. He makes him a cup of coffee, and Harvey Keitel takes a sip, and then he turns and like pleasantly
that's good coffee. It's all his callbacks to the stupid shit.
Oh, man, it's great. But Keitel is fucking awesome as the wolf.
Yes, the best at the wolf,
He is amazing. Prior to that, though, Samuel L. Jackson on the phone with Marcellus Wallace. I want you to appreciate the gravity of the situation, you know? And he's like, there's nothing to worry about. I'm sending in the wolf. He'll be over directly. And Harvey Keitel speeds over and everything. And the guy's like a legend just for solving problems.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Right.
And again, it's the audience is left piecing the timeline together because obviously none of these things happen in order. So you got to figure out how does it actually progress and get to the point where Vince is dead. Jules has an epiphany and like somehow walks out of this or talks these people down from killing all these people in this restaurant and all this. Like it all went in a certain direction, but I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the last thing that happened is Marcellus Wallace getting fucked in the ass. Like that's probably the end of it, right? Like
probably,
Just slightly after that, Bruce Willis and his French girlfriend. They do hop on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Leave. So
it's a chopper.
But I think that vignette is probably the end of the linear.
Zed's dead.
It's a bobber.
Yeah. Who's Alice? Just get on the chopper.
Yeah, just get on it. Let's go.
Yeah. That's the one hard thing I find about talking about these movies is I want to go in so many places and I'm following the conversation, but then I'm thinking like chronologically, I'm scrolling through my notes. Like what else do I want to say? What else? You know, it warrants multiple watches in a week or so that you can see these things and kind of keep coming back to it.
I'm sure there's probably someone who's done it where they've probably clipped the things together with the major character groupings and made them into longer vignettes of Jules and Vince and Butch and just kind of put them into their own progressions and story arcs. And it probably makes, I guess, linear makes more sense, but it's so much fun the way it exists. I wouldn't. I
don't know why you would change it. Yeah. Wikipedia does have, just on Pulp Fiction, if the 7 sequences were ordered chronologically, so prologue is 1, prelude to Vincent Vega, Marcellus Wallace's wife, prelude to Gold Watch, Bonnie situation, epilogue in the back at the diner. So 7. They would run 4A, which is the flashback prelude to Gold Watch. Your daddy had this in his ass. 2. Thank you.
Well done. Yeah, that deserves a ding.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Prelude to Vincent Vega and Marcel Wallace's wife. You remember your business partner, Marcellus Wallace? That scene. 6, Bonnie situation. 1, the prologue at the diner. 7, the epilogue at the diner. 3, Vincent Vega and Marcel Wallace's wife. 4B, the other half of the present time in Gold Watch, and then 5.
Damn.
So it's almost like they shot it in whatever order they wanted, and then cut up the storyboards and said, okay, let's throw them up in the air and see where it lands.
That's what it is. It's Pulp Fiction, right? It's a bunch of stories, and they're loosely connected, and he just said, just put it together.
So chronologically, the very last thing that would have to happen if the movie ended at the absolute latest point would be Bruce Willis riding off on the motorcycle.
That's what it seems like, because it ends 5. Yeah, I mean they say sequences 1 and 7 overlap, so no, because those are sandwiched almost in the middle. The diner stuff. Yeah, it would be Bruce Willis getting away, making the spoons.
I wonder what happened to Jules' character too. He warrants his own spinoff.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, well,
he becomes a preacher or something like that.
The premise of that would be him walking the earth, what's his name, David Carradine from Kung Fu.
Yes,
that's what he says.
Oh, man.
I'll just walk the earth.
2 things. I used to love Kung Fu.
Oh, actually,
same. Guilty pleasure.
Every Saturday, stupidest shit ever.
And David Carradine will make a very strong appearance in our next podcast.
Indeed,
he is Bill.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, it sounds to me like we're ready to go on to Jackie Brown.
Well, let's touch on the final diner scene real quick.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, we haven't talked about that.
Because there's the whole, the part where, they rob the place and then they encounter Jules while Travolta's taking a shit. There's a lot of great lines in there. I mean, that's Samuel L. Jackson's scene again to bookend the film. He dominates the opening scene and he dominates this one. I think my favorite line in the whole part, and there's a bunch of good ones, but my favorite line is he's like, I want you to go into that bag and I want you to pull out my wallet. Eli Roth says, I don't know which one is yours. And he goes, It's the one that says bad motherfucker.
It's like so matter of fact.
Obvious thing in the world. But he's like, we're all going to be like Fonzie. And what is Fonzie? Cool. Correctamundo.
It's so bombastic.
When he starts there's this great moment, too, where he's dissecting his own Bible verse that he says. You know, the part where he's like, I just thought that was some cold-blooded shit. But then he starts trying to understand what it means. And he's like, maybe I'm the shepherd and you're the weak. And he says he goes through a bunch of versions of that. But he finally he ends up with, like, the truth is, you're the weak and I am the tyranny of evil men. It's such a cool line.
Yeah. That's right, man. It's good shit.
Yep.
All the way. And that Samuel L. Jackson comes back in a tour de force again in the next one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there you go. There's the transition.
There's your transition.
Can I propose a brief timeout for some frosty beverages?
I was going to suggest as much.
Suggestion.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for hanging out and listening to us talk about Pulp Fiction and all things basically Samuel L. Jackson. We are going to, stay with the man, the myth, the motherfucking legend, and go over to Jackie Brown next. So if you liked this, watch ahead. Watch Jackie Brown. And then if, again, you're into extra credit, once again, go fuck yourself, you overachiever. Secondly, watch Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. All right? We will see you next time when we talk about Jackie Brown, though. Jackie Brown.
I can do that.
We will not be getting in that dirty-ass trunk.
See you then.